G'day and welcome, my name's Cautious Pancake, and today I want to have a go at a challenge that Guns, Nerds and Steel put out last year on building a 2-dimensional or 1 block wide base to take on a 64 zombie, insane difficulty, nightmare speed horde. I've put together a basic framework for a base, with a staircase ramp up for the zombies, a zombie dropper with sledge turret to ensure that the zombies are looping the whole time, and a very basic fighting platform for me to stand within, covered with iron spikes in case of vultures. The whole base is just 1 block wide, as per the challenge, with some floating spotlights so that we can see what's going on, although they don't play any part in the zombie pathing or combat. For the inside of the base, I'm using a pole double top in front of the sledge turret, and the plate 001 block down the middle, so that there's protection on both sides of me using a single block. It won't prevent the cops from spitting at me when they run in, but it should stop it from hitting me. Now you might be wondering how such a simple base is going to work to fight off an endgame horde, and my plan is first to get the base working so that it's able to be used as an AFK base. Once we have that going, we can then see if combat is possible using such a simple setup as well. As you can see with these bikers, the loop is working pretty well already, but after spawning in a bunch more, we can start to see the challenge of the 1 block wide base. And that's that the zombie pathing to get back to the staircase doesn't always work as well as you'd like, and it will start to sometimes beat on the side of the staircase blocks. Didn't happen too much that time, so we'll let them run around, fall down from the zombie dropper, and as they come back through this time, let's see how they go. For the most part, they've run around pretty well and jumped up, but as you can see, that guy there is stuck and took a couple of swings. And if we check with the repair gun, you can see it's done a little bit of damage. It doesn't happen every time they loop, but it does happen often enough that it will, over the course of the Horde Night, end up destroying the staircase on us. To see just how well it goes, what we need to do is jump into a Horde Night. The goal here is to let the Horde Night run and see how the zombies go. It's a very simple base, and I don't expect it to work the whole night through, but it will give us a bit of a baseline to see what this simple setup will give us in terms of longevity. Then we can try out a bunch of different ideas after that, and we'll know whether or not we're making things better or worse, by how quickly or how long until we fail the Horde Night. As you can see, whilst the Horde Night starts out pretty well with the zombies tracking around fairly nicely, as the number of zombies increases and we get up to the full 64 limit, we'll start to see a bit of a clumping effect at the bottom of the staircase, as the zombies struggle to get their pathing right and are blocked by each other, which usually results in them hitting the staircase and causing some damage. I've picked a Horde Night with nice complicated waves, including demos and dogs on this first wave, which is another reason that I've gone for the staircase rather than ladders. Ladders, of course, don't work for dogs and direwolves, which is something that I wanted to make sure were covered. You'll also see that spiders in this first wave will tend to jump across the zombie dropper, which is the other reason that we have the sledge turret there, just to make sure that they are sent on their way. Lastly, whilst you can't see it at the moment, the pathway and the zombie dropper are completely supported by invisible stability blocks, just to make sure that there's no stability issues throughout the course of the Horde Night. The ramp is also 3 blocks thick, with a central cube block in the middle and 2 plate blocks above and below. With that out of the way, let's fast forward through a bit of the Horde Night and see where we're at in a couple of hours. Okay, I've gone a little bit further than that, and we're coming up on 1 AM, which is halfway through Horde Night. We still haven't lost a block, but I suspect it's not going to be too far away, given that we can see some of the visible damage to the top of the staircase blocks. Ooh, and there goes the first block. It actually lasted a lot longer than I expected it to. We've lost it at just before 1:30 in the morning. Once that happens, the zombies will still be able to keep using the path, but as you can see, they clump up even more, since they now have to jump up from where the block was destroyed, up onto the rest of the staircase. Because that's slower, they clump up more, and when they clump up more, they tend to smack more blocks, so I suspect once we've lost that first block, it's going to take even less time before we lose the next block, and probably worse after that again. Sure enough, there we go. At 10 to 2, we've lost our second block, which is kind of next to the first one we lost, rather than being another staircase block, which is interesting. I guess it's all at the right height for those ground level zombies to be hitting. Now that they're underneath that other staircase block and stuck, they're probably going to do even more damage. And sure enough, pretty much smack on 2 AM, we've lost the next staircase block, which destroys the pathing now that it's a 2-block high distance that the zombies would need to jump to get up to the stairs, which they can't do. The few that are running up is just bouncing off each other's heads, and all the zombies are now trying to undermine my fighting position. You can see these guys are all a little bit confused and just sort of standing around. They obviously haven't refreshed their pathing, whereas the rest of them are all over here trying to bring down the fighting position. So the baseline for a standard staircase is 4 hours, finishing at 2 AM. So let's see if we can make that better. So the first thing I want to try is by grabbing this double plate 01 block. We'll add that in here. And the goal is to push the zombies all the way to the end so that they don't try and take a shortcut up the stairs. And this way they should run further all the way around and should enter the gap between the plate blocks cleanly and do less damage to the stairs. As you can see from the bikers, that worked pretty well, at least with 5 of them, and that's always the trick, is knowing whether or not it's going to work well on Horde Night versus the small sample size. So to test it, let's jump straight into the Horde and see how it goes. Well, we're starting off with the direwolf. Any of the 1.0 and 1.1 Horde Nights that include dogs can also include direwolves, so we'll see how that goes, but it doesn't seem to be causing any pathing issues for the larger dog size, so that's good. And so far, all the zombies seem to be pretty happy with regard to running all the way to the end and then trying to find their way between those plate blocks, up the staircase and back to us. So this is looking promising. It's, at least if there's going to be any slapping of blocks, like I think there was just one then, that's going to be on the plate blocks rather than on the staircase. So if we can get a couple of hours out of these plate blocks, it should mean once they're gone, that the staircase then gives us the 4 hours that it got last time. So all we need is these plate blocks to survive till midnight and we should be good. Okay, coming up on 11 o'clock. So we've only had 1 hour so far and that first plate block looks pretty damaged. So once that goes, and there it goes, it shouldn't actually affect the pathing because of the one below it. That's still going to push the zombies all the way out like they were before. And as you can see, they're still pathing quite nicely, leaving the stairs alone, running all the way to the end, coming back up. Okay, well there's midnight. We've got the extra 2 hours that we wanted. The bottom plate block is pretty damaged, and it's likely going to disappear any second now. But, there it goes. That should still mean, though, that the zombies are now going to run around that first lot of plate blocks, up the stairs like they would normally. So this should now be entering the normal default run of the base. Since it starts at midnight, Horde Night finishes at 4, we got 4 hours out of it last time, we should be good in theory. Well, I'm not so sure about the theory now. We just lost the next plate block at 20 past midnight, which is only 20 minutes after we lost the last plate. So I'm not sure whether that means that one was just in the wrong position and the zombies really didn't like it, or whether these double plate blocks now are causing extra issues. At least with that one now gone, the zombies are still kind of trying to get up the stairs, I think. Although that demo that's standing there right now is scaring me a little bit because he looks like he wants to whack on the staircase directly. So I'm not sure whether the extra height of the double plate blocks that are left is causing problems because they're blocking the ones that would normally jump up and run through, but we'll just have to see. Well, there goes, I think, a staircase block that then caused all of the extra plate blocks to go flying. So we've now lost a staircase block. Oh, and we've immediately lost a second staircase block. So not only did that not buy us the extra time that we wanted, it's actually done worse than the default position, despite a very promising start. Okay, so whoa! Incoming biker came rushing in from the side. Since that last one didn't go well, the theory of this one is to drop down remove the extra layer of double plate blocks that we added on top so that they still get the benefit but without those extra blocks in the way. But I think this has had the reverse effect from looking at it. Rather than running around the front and going up nicely, with only 2 blocks high of the plate blocks, they don't want to run up at all and they're just trying to take the shortcut. So that's not ideal at all. I think this is just going to be a complete mess since none of the zombies are trying to path properly and they're just going to smash on everything. So let's just jump forward and see what time this one fails at. And there we go. At 10 to 11, we didn't even make it an hour. We've lost the pathing. The zombies are all going to head over and undermine the fighting position. And this one's done. So I think that puts the nail in the coffin for the double plate blocks. What we might need to look at instead is a way to make the zombies walk up more easily when they get to this end of the staircase. So what I want to do here is grab this cube 1/4 side centered, and if we rotate that around like this, that means that the zombies can in theory run up from either side of the base. Now I could put another one up here, but then that makes it almost a weird sort of block jump up, and we know that block jumps are a bit slower and we want the zombies to be able to run. So we'll switch it for another cube quarter and put this one in the edge like that. And now every step is kind of 1/8 of a block, I think it is. So, or at least a 1/4 block. So that means that the zombies should still be able to run up it pretty easily. If we add all of these in like this, it's a chunky stairway, but still a kind of stairway. And the advantage being is that the zombies can come in from either side. Now the only trick is going to be is that front block. They still might want to try and jump up there rather than getting onto that first side-centered block. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how it goes. Starting with some bikers. Let's see how they go. And they don't go well at all. They're, like I thought, trying to take that shortcut by jumping up, but then getting half blocked by that cube 1/4 in the corner there. So it doesn't look great, but let's give them a bit of a repair and kick off a Horde Night just to see whether the pathing is equally bad during the Horde. So far, so good. They've actually kind of run around the front and are using that side-centered block, which is great, except for those 3 guys on the far side. So maybe not so good. It was looking all right for a second, but then they got a little bit stuck. And this is early on too, remember. We don't have the full 64 zombies going crazy yet. So once that builds up, it will be interesting to see if it gets worse. So as you can see, it got worse. All the zombies are completely choked up there, not moving up quickly at all. You can hear a block just got destroyed. I can't even see which block it is because it's so messy with the zombies. Okay, just coming up to 11. 1 hour in. Never a good sign that there's such a mess of zombies there. I suspect we won't be too much further, just based on how much they're sitting there. We've already lost one of the cube corner blocks from the first jump. We've lost another cube block now. So I think there's one more cube 1/4 that they can jump up to. Given the height of that jump and the number of zombies surrounding it, that's probably going to get smashed out. Yep, it's gone. Pathing's dead. This one's over at 10 past 11. So there's one more option I want to try that's similar to that, in concept anyway, and that's using this Wedge Tip Full End block. It's another block that will allow the zombies to come in from either side of the base. This one's a little smoother and a little taller, so I'm hoping that, given the slope on it, the zombies will be able to run up nice and quickly and not be forced to jump at all, which is, I think, what was causing the issues with that last base. Now, given this doesn't nicely fit with any other slopes that I could find, I'm just going to knock out all of the staircase blocks and put this in on each level. Now, because it's full height, it should mean that the zombies can just sort of run up to the middle and the top of that ridge and then quickly run up the next end point as well, but we'll have to see how we go. Not going to mess around with the test on this one, just going to jump straight into the Horde Night. And as you can see, that first zombie just ran straight up, but then gets a little bit stuck after a few blocks and then has to jump, which is a little bit weird because it's all the same block. So I'm not sure why sometimes they get stuck and want to jump and sometimes they run up quickly. One of the vagaries of zombie pathing, I'm sure, but it's not working too badly. The only downside really is the speed, because it's even slower and they're wanting to jump almost on every block when there's enough of them. That's going to back the zombies up right down to the bottom, and it's going to mean that once we get the full 64 in there, that there's probably going to be another congregation of zombies hanging at the bottom of that stairwell. So we're an hour in. As you can see, it's not actually too bad. The zombies are fairly well distributed all the way up the ladder, which is kind of good actually. Just not sure how much they're hitting things on the way through and how much they're getting stuck. So just coming up on midnight now. We still haven't lost a block, but you can see there's bit of damage here and there. And there's the first block that we've lost now, although it's in a weird spot, a fair way removed from the staircase, which isn't a typical location, at least from the bases that we've seen so far. Then just lost another block, also at that same height, one of the ones supporting the wedge, rather than any of the wedges so far. So if they can hang around and maintain that staircase, will be okay. But it is always a bit of a case that once you start to lose 1 or 2 blocks, that tends to make things worse, and you start to lose more at a more rapid pace. So we'll see how we go. I think I heard another one now, so there's probably a full height gap underneath the wedge blocks now. At least the third one back, I think it is. There's another block gone somewhere. And another. And did that break the pathing? There's a lot. Yeah, I think it did. While some of them can kind of get up, most of them now are running over to the bottom of the fighting position. So this one's done before 12:30. Still not keeping up with the baseline. So changing pace a little bit now. Since the zombies normally loop by going to the far end of the base and back up again, I thought it might be possible to split the zombie stream in two and give them this extra path up this ramp and up the stairway as usual, while still giving that main stairway. If anything, it gives us a failure point so that after one of the staircases fail, we can use the other one, or at least the zombies can. So interesting though, those bikers have ignored the closer path. Oh, he's using it. No. Was he using it and accidentally fell off because of the block above? Or was that just a coincidence? Let's kill them, and to check it, we'll knock this out. That destroys that path. And spawn in some more. And there's no path for them. Okay. I don't know whether that's the stairwell, whether it's the block at the top, or whether it's the ramp block sort of crossing over the top of the staircase that's causing them to think that there's no path. Sticking with the same concept then, let's split the path in half. So now we've only got half blocks on either side. That should separate the path completely. There's nothing above those blocks that should then confuse the zombies. Let's get them moving and see if they take the close path, but they don't. And not only do they not take the close path, they don't take the other path either. They're just smacking there until they can get on top of each other's heads and then they can get up. If we destroy that, just to prove that that other path isn't viable, they still don't see that as an option. Alright, I think this one, whilst a good idea, isn't something that's going to play out. What we can do instead though, if we want 2 staircases, rather than trying to have them go in opposite directions, is just build one on top of the other. The downside, as you could just see there, is stability. So what we might want to first do is just test that everything's working. We'll get a biker in, and sure enough, he'll run up the further staircase, fall down onto the main one, and run from there. The idea here is that with the staircase above the other one, when the furthest staircase is destroyed, they should be able to just run straight onto the one underneath it. What we've got to do though first is sort out the stability. To do that, let's get our favorite invisible stability block, the rail end. Not the double, just the single this time, because we only need to block it at one end and we've only got one flat block to hide it from. And then what we need is something to fit in between. Now, if memory serves, the gazebo has a really small, there it is, number 10 block for the gazebo roof is a really, really small, I don't know, I was going to say triangular piece. It's kind of an odd shape anyway, but that'll fit in really nicely just to add some stability that the zombies should ignore and just run past. The hardest part I have with using this block is figuring out which way around it's pointing. There it is. And we can't put that in like that because it'll be sticking out in the middle of nowhere. So let's rotate it around till it's on the bottom somewhere, like that. Now that can sit on the stairway going up. If we add them in, that will provide the extra stability to the staircase above. And we can add that all the way up, finish the rest of the staircase, and see how it looks. Okay, we've got the staircase done. We've got a Horde Night underway. As you can see, they're running in nicely from the sides. Should just treat this like the normal staircase that we had for the baseline, because it's exactly the same, just with a staircase underneath it. So I'm hoping we get the 4 hours through to 2 AM from this main staircase, and then once that's destroyed, that the pathing should open up for the one underneath. It's a bit of a tight fit, but they should be able to crawl up there okay, and that should get us the last couple of hours. Once again, makes sense in my head, but we'll have to see whether the zombies agree. So 2 hours in at midnight. I mean, on one hand, that gets us the 2 extra hours that we need, and that the rest of the staircase should give us the other 4 hours, but we've been down that path before, and it hasn't panned out, so now's when it starts to get interesting. You can see the damage on that further staircase block, so I wouldn't be surprised if we lose that shortly, and then we'll start to see what happens from there. Okay, 1:15 midnight, and we've lost that first block. They can still jump up, that's okay. Once we lose the second block, that's where things will get really interesting, and hopefully they switch over to that inside staircase. Okay, we've lost that block. The one above it's still there though, so they can potentially still jump up, but no, that's gone now too. Alright, so that path is definitely dead, and they don't seem to see that underneath staircase as a path. Alright, back to the drawing board. Okay, before we give up on that idea completely, we're going to try it one more time, but this time with an extra block gap between the underneath staircase and the one on top. That should mean that the zombies have even more room to maneuver and should be able to treat both of them as active and usable staircases. To do that, I'm using the gazebo part again on the bottom staircase as well as the top staircase, and placing the top stairs block on top of the gazebo part, which is what's giving it the stability, like that. And then we can just keep going all the way up, adding these in like so, and then come back and add the rest of the stairs in later. Okay, with the stair built, let's try it, maybe just a test first up, hey? And you can see that this time the biker wants to take the closest stairwell and use that first, which is exactly what we want. That means that both staircases are valid and usable, and that when that bottom staircase underneath is destroyed, rather than using the first one first, they'll use the closest one first, and then once that's gone, then they'll go to the furthest one and use that for the remainder of Horde Night. And straight away they use the furthest one, just to prove me wrong, but I think that's just based on where they spawned. And yep, the other zombies are running into the closer one first. Someone's taken offense to my staircase, but the rest of them are okay. And you can see once they loop from the zombie dropper and come back up, they're going just to the closest stairwell, as expected, which is good, and it means that they will continue to use that one until it's destroyed, and then they should switch over to all using the staircase on top. They seem a little bit more aggravated by getting up there. That could be because the other staircase is close by and it's just causing a little bit of extra proximity issue, or it could be the gazebo parts that we've used on the staircase for stability. Either of them could be causing just that little bit of extra problem for the zombie pathing. It's going to be a bit hard to tell, and we're just going to have to see how it plays out. Okay, a couple of minutes to midnight. We've already lost a couple of blocks on that lower staircase, and I think we just lost that last block that destroys the pathing. And thankfully none of the zombies are heading for the fighting area, and they're starting to repath now up to the furthest staircase. So we did get the extra 2 hours out of it that we wanted. Now, as long as we get the original 4 hours, and I've said this, what's this, third time the charm that I've said that, as long as we get that extra 4 hours, or the baseline 4 hours that we got originally from a plain staircase, this should take us through to 4 AM. Okay, so looking pretty good. A couple of minutes to go now, and we haven't lost a block, although you can see plenty of damage. Oh, there it goes. Right on the end of Horde Night, we lost a block. But we did finish an AFK Horde Night with an insane difficulty 64 zombie horde on nightmare speed. So that's not too bad going for a 1 block wide base to be able to do that as AFK. You can see the base has taken a bit of a beating though. If we just pop back out here, you'll see that some zombies got stuck on those hidden stability blocks that appeared, and it's destroyed some of the blocks underneath. If we pop out and have a look, you can see that dropped the sledge turret down. We've got all this damage through here. We've got this gap here where we lost 2 blocks, the plate block on top and the cube block in the middle. So we lost quite a few blocks on the actual path, and we were not too far away of losing those, but it wasn't going great. Lost a bit of damage there. There's the blocks that we destroyed on that one, and we had 1 more block of destruction before that path failed as well. So it was on its way out, but doing okay, at least at that point. Okay, so now the real challenge. Can we do the same base as combat with the same settings. I've given myself an SMG, a 44 Desert Vulture, and a sledgehammer, although if we use the sledgehammer we're going to be in trouble because that means the zombies have got to cross the dropper and past the sledge. The trick with this is going to be, can we do enough damage to the zombies to make it worthwhile? How many times do I mess up and destroy a cop or a demo and undermine the bottom of the base? Since it's only 1 block wide, it's not going to be particularly stable with all that desert sand underneath. And I've only really gone down 1 block into the desert sand for footings, so it's not going to be the strongest. And there's our first cop explosion down the bottom somewhere, so that's not a great start. Thankfully I missed the demo so far. The other trick is with all of the rads, are we going to be able to do enough damage to actually make it worthwhile fighting? We're getting a little bit of XP, but not a huge amount. I do have some AP rounds for the SMG, as well as high power rounds for the 44. So that'll give us a bit more oomph once we switch to those. Whoop. Well, I think we just had a cop explosion that set off a demo explosion, so that's not ideal. Let's just go full auto on the SMG for a little bit. So instead of watching this entire Horde Night where I'm going to be staring down the barrel, oh, there's another demo of the staring down the barrel of the SMG the whole time, or at least staring down the scope. What we might just do is grab some highlights, flip through and see how things go, and catch up with you, hopefully, almost at 4 AM. Okay, here we are, a bit after 3 o'clock. I'm using the 44 since we've run out of most of the ammo on the SMG. Used up all of the 900 rounds of AP, as well as most of the standard 9mm rounds. The base seems to be holding up okay so far, but as we're getting towards the pointy end, I thought it would be a good time to just check in and see how we're going. And it might have been the right time to do that, because we seem to have run out of zombies. Or at least we seem to have run out of zombies on the path that we want them on. So I think we've lost that stairwell. I don't think it was a cop or demo explosion. Oh, one more. No, the path's not miraculously back. He was just stuck somewhere. So from here, I think we're just going to have to take pot shots at the zombies that we can see, without risking falling off, and see if we can sneak through to the end of Horde Night. Okay, 1 minute to go. And there we go, we've made it. It wasn't the cleanest run. The base pathing didn't survive as it was supposed to, but we did get there. Question is now, can we do the cleanup? If we stand over the ladder, they'll stand on each other's heads and eventually try and, make their way back up again, but I can't see. There we go. Oh, and there's a cop explosion that should thin things out a little bit for us, so that's not too bad. So we can sit here for a bit, shoot fish in the barrel. The question is going to be though, how did the base fail? And what happened to the pathing? We just need to get a few of these zombies down so that we can get over there and have a look. And oh, here we go. The base is down. The zombies are everywhere. I'll just take care of a few of these. There's the ladder, or the staircase that's broken. To me, that just looks like we lost it normally. Nothing special, just standard destruction. Oh, fight the zombies first. Come on. And, oh, they're getting close. I have to go SMG again and spray. Not sure how many of those bullets actually hit zombies, but anyway. So we take care of these, which I think we might be able to do actually. We might be able to just clean them up. Okay. I think that's it. No, someone's left. Here he is. Okay, so as we stand in the rubble of the fighting position, you can see that there's lots of loot bags, so we certainly did kill a number of zombies throughout the Horde Night. I think I got a couple of levels up, almost 3. And over here is where we lost the base. The standard sort of destruction of blocks on the inside staircase, as well as what looks like happened on the further staircase. So for combat, it doesn't seem like 2's enough, or we just got unlucky with the makeup of the zombies this time. So there you go, a 1 block wide horde base that's capable of both fighting and AFKing an insane difficulty 64 zombie horde on nightmare speed. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing. Thanks to my awesome supporters on Patreon, thanks to you for watching this video, and happy building. Oh, and if you want to see what a 3 staircase build looks like from an AFK perspective, let's fast forward through that for you now.